What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Misadventureland Game Show. I'm Bobby, and I'm here with Justin.
Hi there.
Hello there. Hi there. Hey there.
Hi. Hey. Hi. Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. Busy day.
My computer wants me to know that I must press Alt-Z if I want to use the GeForce experience, Justin. Just so you know, because I made your video full screen, and then I think it assumed that it was a game, so it was telling me to make sure. Hey, you know, make sure if you want to capture this beautiful face that you hit Control-Z or Alt-Z, whatever it is. So yeah, we are here to talk about video games. 2 weeks in a row we're talking about video games, Justin.
It's almost like it's 2015.
It's a banner. It's a banner day. Was that the last? That wasn't the last time we were doing the regularly, right?
When was talking? Well, the heyday of talking comics was every week. I'll say like 2015-ish.
Yeah, yes. But I would say when we were going on talking games together, it was every week.
Yeah,
the whole cast wasn't there every week.
But we were.
Well, we were there every week. If you can join us every Thursday at twitch.tv/misadventureland for these live shows if you want to be involved, like Megs and Grunar in the chat right now. Megs called us handsomes. Thank you so much, Megs. You're the sweetest in the world. So yeah, we got some video game stuff to talk about. I feel like we should probably talk about the Sony thing first, and not do the thing we normally do, which is to like talk about a whole bunch of other bullshit and then talk about the thing that everybody's actually here to hear us talk about.
You mean that most people aren't here to listen to our wild thoughts about that Matrix trailer that dropped this morning?
Well, we'll talk about that Matrix trailer.
Hey, Andy.
Andy is here as well. Hello.
All right, let's talk about the Sony thing.
Let's talk about the Sony thing. So Sony had a big showcase today, a 40-minute showcase. They didn't even call it a state of play. They called it a showcase, Justin.
They did.
They it's kind of, you know, they didn't do an E3 thing, so this is sort of taking the place of their E3 thing. They don't have any after this week or next. When is that Death Stranding thing coming out? Next week?
Something like that.
Once that's out, there's no more first party games for Sony for the rest of the year. So they came out to show what they have in store and what's coming up. And we're gonna talk about it. We made some predictions the other day, most of which were wrong, other than the very, very safe ones that we made, which was like, hey, they're gonna show God of War Ragnarok. Kenna is not a first party Sony game. It is being published exclusively on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 on the consoles, but it is not a PlayStation owned property. So that is the case of that. They have some other, they have a Deathloop coming out as well, but Deathloop is not a first party game. It is, funnily enough, a Microsoft game.
Yeah.
That is being released exclusively on a PlayStation platform. So they kicked this thing off with a little CG sort of like tone piece teaser. Well, first of all, they kicked this thing off with this weird PlayStation commercial that had a lot of focus on chess for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I was like, what is this? Sort of like new wild chess game that they're putting out or something?
Halfway through, I was like, "This is just a commercial."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're starting it off with a commercial. I didn't think it was actually leading towards anything.
But they showed so much chess in it. It was weird, like the amount of chess that was going on in it. Usually those like general Sony commercials, they have like their other their characters doing like weird stuff, or somebody like, you know, and they had that thing at the end where it was like that, like the Planet of the Apes moment where it pulls back and instead of an ape, it's Aloy, like in this statue, and everyone's cheering. It's like, I don't understand what this trailer is conveying, but that started it out. Then came this sort of like moody tone piece, like CG teaser that announced something that had already been, I don't know if it was announced, but it was definitely one of those like, this is happening. We just didn't know how and in what way. They are remaking Knights of the Old Republic, the old BioWare EA the old sorry, wasn't EA, it was old BioWare. I forgot there's a time where BioWare wasn't part of EA. BioWare RPG, Star Wars RPG, which is, you know, one of those games that is highly regarded as one of the best games of all time. It's one of those games that get thrown in that conversation all the time. It would be a very difficult game for people who have not played it to go back and play right now. So it's very cool that they're remaking it.
That would be me.
Yeah,
I never
Aspire,
played KOTOR.
who has been doing like less remakes and more remasters of a lot of LucasArts, Star Wars properties. Like they did all like the ports of like the, you know, the Republic Commando and all those kind of games, and the, you know, all those Jedi Knight and all those games that have come out in the last couple of years they've been working on. And it had been rumored that they were working on a remake of Knights of the Old Republic, and it is in fact true. It is coming to it is a timed PlayStation 5 console exclusive, but and it's also coming to PC, of course. No release no release window has been given for it yet. Justin, how are you feeling about this announcement? Like you said, you never played KOTOR. Does it interest you to play it when this remake comes out?
Absolutely, because now I'm like kind of into Star Wars. So, you know, it was never something that I was interested in the past. And then as more time went on, it was just like, well, I just missed that. And there's actually another game tonight that we'll talk about. That was one of those. Well, that was a time and a place, and I wasn't there in that time and place.
Right.
But yeah, I'm fully on board. Like it's one of those things that you've just heard about over the years, and you're like, you know, should I look at this? And then you look at the way that it looks, and you're like, no, they're probably all wrong. It's not worth me going back and playing. But now I get to see for myself, and so yeah, like I'm super excited about that, and I'm actually pretty surprised that it's they lock that down as at least a launch exclusive or whatever that window is going to be. I'm a bit surprised about that.
I mean, it's especially surprising because the original was an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think KOTOR has ever been on a PlayStation console before. So it is interesting in that way. The thing about KOTOR now is really not so much the way it looks as, and Meg's mentioned this in the chat, is the controls. Like, it doesn't, they don't make RPGs the way that this game it was made anymore. So it's all like, so there's a lot of dice rolls going on in the background. Sometimes you'll like, you know, you'll go to like swing like your sword and you'll just miss because like the dice roll in the background says you missed. So it has like a weird, feels like you're directly controlling, but you're not actually directly controlling. So there's like a weird disconnect in the way it feels.
So how would you feel if they took a wider swing at this thing and did a remake like Final Fantasy VII, like where they completely change certain things about the way that game plays?
That's what they should do. They should definitely update the system. They should definitely update the systems. I don't know, like there are definitely better ways to do like real time battling that's still RPG focused. Like even later BioWare games did it better. Like like the system in Mass Effects and Dragon Age, not Inquisition, which was much more like just like a pure action game. But the Dragon Age 1 and 2 were kind of maturations of the system in KOTOR, essentially. So you can absolutely do it and do it totally fine. I hope it's not just like turns into like a lightsaber battler, because like that's not what the game was at all. But I mean, just like a lot of BioWare stuff, like the gameplay it can be very good, but the real thing about it then was the story, and the story it was telling was extremely cool, especially in that time. So that's the kind of stuff I'm excited to see them bring back and do again. So it was a very Andy, thank you so much for Megs with the gifted sub to Andy, her 18th gifted sub.
Thanks, Megs.
Thank you so much, Megs. So I'm excited to see people be able to play that for the first time, because it is something that I think people will respond to even now. But again, I think those controls are something that would really stop people from doing that. The next thing they showed was, I don't know, it was no less than a 78-minute long trailer for this Japanese character action game called Project Eve, which is not related to the like Parasite Eve series, which I initially was thinking when they were showing it. It's a third person action game in like a Bayonetta, Devil May Cry type of style. It has some like insane looking monsters and battles, but it just went on like
For so long.
for forever.
Did you get any Souls vibes out of that thing?
Not really. I mean, it looks like there are some like hard enemies possibly, but all of those like big character action games have stuff like that. But I don't know what exactly you're talking about.
Well, I just like unfortunately, I had to watch this conference on my phone while working. And so I had to just keep peeking back over at the phone while doing work stuff. And every time during this 78-minute presentation, during this 40-minute conference, I kept seeing this, this hacking and slashing, but again, always against very large enemies with very lumbering moves. And so that just, I was like, piqued my curiosity a bit, like, Square doing a Souls thing? It is Square, right?
Is it Square?
I thought it was Square, but I could be totally wrong. Let's see.
Check it out.
What was the name? What was the name of this?
It is Square.
That's
it
right.
is Square.
Project Eve. It
Project
is Square.
Eve.
Okay. It sure looked like Square.
It is Square Enix, and it's not related, because I looked it up. It's not related, I don't think, to Parasite Eve, which is what I thought when they were first showing it. Like it was some sort of reinvention of that old series that hasn't been around for a while, but was very popular in like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era of games.
There's a high probability that has nothing. It's not trying to crib from that style at all. It just, every time I looked over at it, I saw a very large monster being attacked.
Yeah,
by a small person.
Watch most of the fights in those kind of games, and that's what you'll mostly see. Other than like the moment to moment when you're fighting like the little like enemies, most of the time the bosses are huge and have like crazy stuff that they do. So what I would say now is starting with this, we sort of enter like, I think what would be the low point of the conference. I would say the low point of the presentation, not in the fact that all these games are bad, because some of them are actually look pretty kind of interesting, but the way that they were presented, I feel like in some of the cases of the games didn't do them the most favor. So the next thing they showed was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which when they first talked about it at, what was the Keighley, it was at the Summer Games Fest, right? It's where I think they announced it.
Yes.
They didn't really show anything. They just showed they showed like a CG trailer and announced the voice cast. But when they talked about it, when they had Ashley Birch out talking about like, it was going to be like a fantasy thing, and it wasn't going to, it was going to be Borderlands-ish, but it was not going to be so Borderlands. It piqued my interest a little bit. And then this trailer, I would say, unpiqued all that interest.
What was it? Was it the fact that there was guns?
Yeah, it was the fact that there was guns. I was like, why are there guns? Like
the trailer literally tells you why.
I know
there are guns.
I know why, but like, I'm just saying for conception, in conception, why are there guns? You know what I mean?
I get it in a way, because if Gearbox is making one of these games, right? How many, like, sure, like how, they could have different swords or bows or magic staffs. It looks, yes, but it does look like on your offhand, you are doing all sorts of magic in that game. It is not just running around as a soldier man in a fantasy world.
No, it doesn't.
And the guns themselves even look somewhat fantasy inspired.
Yeah.
It looked like they were shooting out fire or different types of projectiles in addition to what looks like regular old bullets.
Yeah. Meg's asked, isn't Borderlands all guns? Yes, Borderlands is all guns, but when they talked about this originally, they were kind of selling it as like, this is not like a Borderlands game, it's something different, right? It's coming from that character and from that universe, but it's something different. And it just didn't look very different to me. And also, like, I mean, this is just the way Borderlands is, right? But like the dialogue and narration and tone of that entire trailer, I was like, just put a bullet in my head. I cannot take this. Like,
here's the question though.
Yeah.
If we mute the dialogue, will you play with Andy and I?
I mean, if it's as good as Borderlands 3, no.
Well, I don't know if anything could be worse than Borderlands 3. See, but like coming away from that, I was at least like I was surprised to see guns 100%. Like
Yeah.
I really was. Like I thought they were just going to try and do something different.
Mhm.
But then I watched it and I was just like, okay, so there's guns and there's other like magical things happening, and at least it looks like the world that they're building looks very fantasy inspired. Like it's a much different look than Borderlands.
Yes, I mean the items in the world are very different. The art style is still like
The art style still, but
still
I was expecting Borderlands art style.
Yeah,
I was
Me
going
too.
down that path because especially because it's still tied in with Tiny Tina.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a time that I was like, oh, Tiny Tina is a great character. That time passed 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Or however long it's been.
Yeah.
So here, my question is like, I mean, Randy just hasn't caught on with the fact that like kids don't talk like that today. And people who liked Tiny Tina way back when are like 40 now and are like, I could get down with the shooting and the magic and all that shit, but like, maybe can we just mute this?
I know,
maybe have good music.
Justin, we have friends who played the shit out of Borderlands 3 and loved it.
They loved it I think they love it for different reasons. Like I really think that if you're one of those people that just enjoy the loop of going in, getting the guns, raising the difficulty, that those games can be enjoyable. I don't think the dialogue is going to win any awards
definitely
anytime
not
soon.
I mean, my thing is like I feel like you're absolutely right, but I feel like there are a lot of other games now that give you that same loop where that didn't really exist like as much when Borderlands 1 and 2 were coming out, and so I think it's like just a different world that we're in right now.
Totally.
So that was they showed Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and then they showed that Forspoken game. It was the first time we really got like a good look at what Forspoken was going to look like. And for me, it was a tale of like two different feelings in that trailer. All the stuff where they were showing a person like doing dialogue and talking, I thought looked very flat and like not great. But all the stuff when the person was actually like running around and doing powers and doing combat looked great.
The dialogue faces did look a little bit.
Yeah, it just looked like an old
launch PS4.
Yeah, like early PS4. Like that's what it looked. It did just like the lighting was flat. It didn't have like the depth of animation that games have now. It was like that's kind of a Square published game. Like Outriders, the same type of thing where it looks like this game is like feels like it's from a different time, that you're making it. But the action stuff looked very cool, and like the story, yeah, I didn't expect the tone to be what the tone was.
Listen, it sounds like you have Jarvis on your wrist.
Yeah, it does sound like
all about it. I'm all about it.
And I like the idea of like, this character who is like in this world and knows that she's not from this world and all that kind of stuff. Like those kind of stories can be a lot of fun. So I think it has potential. I will say though, Square Enix, other than like Final Fantasy, it's not been putting out the bangers in the last couple of years, so I think that like I have a little bit of trepidation about how good the game will be, but I think it looks like it has some interesting things going for it. So that looks cool, but it was like it was a balancing act for me. Then they showed Rainbow Six Extraction, which
is out in a month.
It looks fine.
It looks fine. We're gonna play it. I'm sure we'll play it.
But this kind of stuff, like this being there and a couple of things being there, was just weird because it's like you didn't do your big conference a couple months ago, like, and now you're showing like these games that are coming out very, very soon. That's not why I'm watching this. I'm not watching.
There was, for me, watching this conference, it was a tale of two conferences, and it's not even. Midway through this conference, I was like, I am going to go on a fucking rampage on the podcast tonight. I have thoughts and they need to be heard. And then that shifted. But this part of the conference was legitimately bad. Everything about what, not even the games, but like, So what was the game? They show Extraction, and it's like, okay, cool. That comes out in like a month. It looks like Rainbow Six, and looks like, it looks like everything we've seen. We've seen this game before at other places. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
They want to show it, no problem. What was next?
Next was they showed Alan Wake, which we'd already kind of seen. We already knew this was coming. I think this was the first like trailer they put out with all with the new with the remastered assets and stuff like that. So they showed it off. It's pretty much the trailer from like back in the day, but just like with like, the remastered assets like in it.
So this was the other game that I just missed the boat on. I wasn't playing Remedy stuff at the time, and so I'm very excited to be able to sit down and play a remastered version of this game. I've only heard great things about it, and I've liked Remedy's other games.
Yeah.
It's a shame that this got leaked and then confirmed.
Yeah.
Because this would have been a nice surprise. If they had if one more week would have waited, it would have been like, oh, sweet. Like that was an actual thing that was happening, and it comes out in a month. Awesome.
Yeah.
But like the winds got taken out of this thing's sale, so it fell right into this category of, okay, I already knew about this.
Yeah.
What else do you got?
I'm very excited to play. You could definitely play Alan Wake way easier than you could play KOTOR at this point. But
yeah.
But it's really cool that they're remaster it, and hopefully it'll run really well. And look good. The story again is still very good. Same thing when we're talking about KOTOR. Again, we follow up with Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online are getting native PS5 versions.
I don't want to fucking see that game ever again. Ever again. When did they start showing trailers for GTA 5? 2011?
That sounds about right.
It came out in 2013.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2011. Okay. Yeah. Skyrim gets ripped on all the time. But Skyrim doesn't actually keep showing up at these conferences. They just keep re-releasing it.
Yeah.
Like, this is taking stage time away from something else. Yeah. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I know.
Come back when you have GTA 6. I don't ever want to see you again.
Remember at the PlayStation 5 reveal conference? They showed this first.
Yes! Get the fuck out of here.
It has sold like 170 million copies. So
it's a great game.
But
it is great, but it does not need to be shown this prominently anymore.
Yeah, I know. So that was another one where I was like, okay, I can focus. I can go back and focus on my job now for a little while because they're showing this GTA 5 trailer, right? And then I was like, the next game I was like, okay, we're picking out. We're going to show things that are coming that we haven't seen a ton of, and they showed a pretty substantial trailer for Ghostwire Tokyo. And our text, I was like, they're showing some wild shit in this trailer. There was some wild imagery in that trailer, and it was not what I was expecting the game to look and probably play like, I guess. So that was cool. And I think that game looks interesting. And once again, another Microsoft owned game that's being published exclusively on Sony platform. Greg says
pushed that to 22, right?
Yeah, 22, spring of 22. Greg is saying GTA 5 is inevitable. It is inevitable. It doesn't have to be at a conference. Like that's the thing. Like just release it. Release it.
Yeah, people like. I'm gonna take that back. People love that game.
Yeah,
love that game. So if you're telling me you're gonna put out a better version of that game to satiate the audience until GTA 6 comes out, by all means, go ahead, do it.
Yeah,
go for it. You don't need to have this. You don't need to show that on the PlayStation conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Meg, exactly right, Megs. People know about it. They don't need to be told about it.
But you know what's happening? Some 14-year-old is watching this conference for the first time being like, oh, hello there.
I feel like a 14-year-old would know what GTA 5 was.
Definitely. I'm sorry, 8-year-old.
Yeah. So then they showed a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, which again is coming out very soon. No big news to it being here or anything like that. They showed a little bit more. I still remain like, I don't know, like about it. Like that's how I feel about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I came away from this trailer maybe feeling a little bit stronger about it, where I'm like, okay, this looks like it's going for something. You know, like it could be. I have a feeling that game may actually be sneakily good. Whereas like Avengers was not. Maybe Guardians goes the other way, and it's just like, oh no, like they got this one right.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope so anyway. At least watching this footage, I was like, okay, like I'm definitely going to pay attention when this thing comes out.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I'm definitely gonna pay attention to it. It just nothing I've seen. Here's the thing: this trailer was good, but we saw a lot of the game at Square Enix, like a lot of gameplay of the game, which I think is probably much more indicative of how the game is going to look and feel and play than this trailer. So that's the other thing. Is like they showed a lot, which is great, but again, you know, nothing what they showed was super inspiring. So we'll see. Then they showed a little bit of that game, which we've seen again at like, I feel like every single conference that we see has this Blood Hunt Vampire the Masquerade game, which is a free-to-play battle royale set in the Vampire Masquerade universe. It's free to play. It's coming later this year to console, which I didn't know it was coming to console. So that's cool.
It was at this point that I nearly texted you and said, what the fuck were they doing hyping people up for this? And this was me knowing that they were going to show God of War at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So this, they showed this. I think this looks cool, but I just, at this point, just like, let me play it. Like, I don't need, like, you know, whatever. I understand why it's here. It is like that it's here, right? Because like, it is announcing it's coming to console, everything like that, like, and when it's coming to console. So that's interesting. But it was just because it was sandwiched into this whole block of stuff that we like already knew about, that was coming out soon, that we just like, we just felt like we were killing time in the middle of the presentation, right? And I feel like it had been like a while since we had seen, like, since the very beginning, since we'd seen like a banger, you know what I mean, of an announcement. So we get to that, and then they showed a pretty significant gameplay or trailer thing for Deathloop, which is literally coming out next week. I don't understand why this is taking up time in this conference. They've shown it at every single like state of play they've had, and they had its own state of play not that long ago. And I understand like more people are probably watching this than we're watching. No, so you want to get the word out about it, make sure people you're only exclusive for the rest of the year, that you know you've got it right. But it was just weird that it was there. Then we got this like trailer for this Radiohead like virtual exhibition, which look, Kid A, Amnesia, awesome. Amnesiac, great albums. Why is this at this thing? I just don't understand why it's here. Which leads to the unfair feeling that when we saw this next thing, which was like this, I didn't hear how to say the title, but Tachia.
Looks very beautiful.
It looks beautiful. It was a cool little indie game, but because of the structure of this event, by the time it showed up, I was like, okay, yeah, this looks nice, but like, what is going on? This is what I kept thinking watching this conference. It looks cool. I thought it seems a lot like that Alba, the wildlife adventure game that came out last year. But it seems cute and neat, and it was nice to see an indie game being shown at their conference. That was nice. I was like, oh, we're gonna see a couple indie games now. The answer to that question was no.
No, definitely not.
Definitely
Shame
not.
on you for even thinking it.
We're gonna jump in and show you something that's another one of these things that got leaked through like a conference call, like an earnings call, but Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy are being remastered for PS5 and PC, and it's due out in early 2022. So I watched that trailer. I was like, oh, let me see like the difference in the way it looks. And maybe it's just because Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy were such good looking games, even when they came out a couple of years ago on the PS4. But I was like, this just looks like the PS4 versions of these games.
I'm sure there, if you really put it side by side, you could probably tell the difference.
Yeah.
But it doesn't pass that immediate eye test of, oh, holy shit, that looks way better.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
I mean, coming to PC as well, I'm very interested to see how good it can look, throwing all of that like PC might at it.
Very good, I'm gonna guess.
I'm sure it will look great. That's very cool. Interesting that it's just 4 and Lost Legacy and not like that remastered trilogy they also put out on PS4.
I'm sure that's coming at some point. It is weird that they're starting with 4 though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're the best looking ones, right? So they're gonna. It makes it's probably makes the most sense to bring them to PS5 because it takes the least work to update them. But yeah, I mean, I remember when Uncharted 4 came out, we were like, do games look better? Can games look better than this? You know, so I'm sure it's still gonna look great, but Melo says I can't wait to see Drake shooting that train toy. There's gonna be a lot of cool mods. We're gonna see. So then Herman Hulst comes out, and this is, I want to talk about this like from a conceptual level because I think it's very interesting. Herman Hulst comes out and basically says like, all right, enough of this bullshit. Like, we're gonna show you the real shit that you wanted to come and see today. Is essentially what he is saying. He's saying like, here comes the Sony first party stuff that you've been waiting for.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. And he kind of says like, he kind of says what I think is lacking from the rest of this conference. And when we kind of talk about it at the wrap up, I'll talk about this more, but he kind of gives like the vision statement, right? For what Sony is all about, what modern Sony is all about, right? Which he basically says is big games that are important. So he is like, he is saying like, we put out, important games that are huge and sort of like industry defining, right? That is like what he is putting out there. And here, let me show you the games that I am talking about. So the Insomniac logo, pops up, and the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, and the Marvel logo pops up, right? Like, okay, here's our Spider-Man like tease or whatever. And we get that shot of the like all these people dead on the floor and this guy sitting like, at a bar, and he's like covered in blood. And what were you thinking at this moment?
I knew right then it was Wolverine.
Okay.
Just from the hat. And I was like, oh wow, Wolverine's in the Spider-Man game. Rad. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm sitting there, and the first thing I think as well is like, oh, this seems like Wolverine, because they were also like focusing a lot on his hand. Like they kept like showing a shot of his hand. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be Wolverine. I was like, yeah, okay. Oh, interesting. They're bringing other Marvel characters into the Spider-Man game. Exactly what I was thinking too. And then it like snicks out and it's just Wolverine or whatever. Which my initial thought after that title card, I went, how many fucking people now work at Insomniac? Was like the first thing that I thought.
So the first thing I thought was, I was totally right. Insomniac is now one of the leading studio, like one of their leading studios, the biggest studios. Like, to me, them getting another Marvel game screams to me like this is one of the top 3 or 4 studios out there across all of video games. Like, these guys just put out bangers. Also, yeah, you're right. How many freaking people work there now?
Because they just finished Ratchet and Clank. They're beginning development on this Wolverine game, and they're already in development on Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man game, which we'll talk about in a second.
So there are 2. So now they're definitely a 2. Obviously,
they're at least a 2-team studio. Yes, they've been there for a while.
If not, they might be kicking around a third somewhere, because their output is ridiculous. And now, granted, they said Wolverine is early. Yeah. They're showing this to you early.
Yeah.
But I was shocked.
I was shocked too. I was shocked that a character that was not associated with Sony, like, they would make a PlayStation exclusive game. That Marvel would want one of their games to be exclusive that wasn't something that was already sort of like in the Sony like mill, I guess
they just looked at the success of the Spider-Man game and was just like, all right, yeah, like, give it to these guys. They seem to know what they're doing, as opposed to giving it to Square, where the Avengers game probably sold well initially and has not done well since.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it doesn't make sense why you'd want Insomniac to make the game, but it surprised me that it would end up being a Sony exclusive game. Look, the idea of a Wolverine game seems cool. Like, Insomniac, great, but they did show this incredibly early for, I think, the reason that we talked about the rest of the conference, right? We talked about how the rest of the conference was. Sony doesn't have a lot right now that is imminent, right? That is first party. Most of that stuff is behind them, and a lot of that stuff got done right near the end of
The PS4's life
PS4
cycle.
life cycle. So like you have
Yeah.
a lot of studios like Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog and stuff who are not going to have another game for you for a while. And Insomniac is also, we just had one at the very beginning of the PS5 era, two at the very beginning of the PS5 era. So you're going to have a couple of years before you have more to show. So they're going to start showing stuff. So like cool that they're doing Wolverine game. Like it's cool that they announced it. This kind of announcement to me is like, I understand why they do it for the reason to get people excited, but like it feels like an announcement that you should do 2 years from now, because all we're going to keep asking, all people are going to keep asking is, where's the Wolverine game? Where's the Wolverine game? Where's the Wolverine game? Where's the Wolverine game? And if we don't see it for 3 years, people are going to, is Wolverine game in trouble? What's going, so it's like, it's one of those things where every time a studio does this, to talk about something this early, they get asked about it incessantly until it comes out. So I understand why they do it. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be in the long term a great move for them to announce it so early.
I think you're totally right about them not having a lot of things in the bag right now. I mean, I think we talked about this last week. What studio is working on something and we don't know what it is? It's just Bend, right?
Bend, yep. I mean, we don't know what Naughty Dog is working on, but
yeah, Naughty Dog's working on something. But I mean, The Last of Us 2 just came out. They're hiring for that multiplayer thing.
Yeah,
I think we've been seeing Sony start gobbling up smaller studios or creating those smaller studios where supposedly the work is already deep, like that shooter game from Disruption Studios. I think, like I said last week, that game is already in a playable form. So maybe Sony saw like, we're going to have a huge gap right now. And we need to start filling it with maybe some of these other games. And then, we need to like show, okay, we're working on this. Don't expect to see it for like 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure we'll see by the time Spider-Man rolls out, I'm sure we'll start seeing, more on Wolverine, which will just like help kick that can down the road a little bit further. But they're definitely, they don't have as many studios. Like right now, they don't have as many studios as Microsoft anymore.
No, they don't.
So
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what they do.
See, listen, it's cool. Like, I love those Spider-Man games. Insomniac's a great studio. Let's see what happens. Then they showed, and then once again, I was like, I can return to work for a little while because they showed a big long trailer for Gran Turismo 7, which is coming out in March 2022. Which cool. Like I don't think there's any type of major release game that can get me as uninterested as a sim racing game. It's just not for me. Like it looks very pretty. I'm sure if the people who like these kind of games will end up liking it, but my eyes glazed over when they were showing it, for sure. And it was weird because I guess they wanted to get that. They wanted to start off with this like section of like important PlayStation games. They wanted to start off with something that would get people's attention, then show the thing we know about, and then go back again to something that would get people's attention.
So I was stunned when I saw Insomniac's name again.
Yeah.
Has a studio ever done this? Has a studio ever announced 2 games in one conference, let alone a game apart?
I don't know. The question is, I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen a studio do this.
It's like, it's like, but it's like, well, Square.
Square. You know what? Square, fine.
Square isn't really a studio. Square is a publisher. Like, he's talking about a team, like maybe like Arcane, I think did it in one of the Bethesda conferences. They were like, here's Prey and here's Dishonored 2, in the same Bethesda conference, I believe.
That sounds believable.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. Because they came out like a year apart, I think. So, they've done stuff like that. There's not a lot of studios that have that work with inside like another publisher that have multiple teams like this. You know what I mean? Not many studios are Insomniac, who are a multi-team studio. So Justin, you want to tell me about the next announcement?
So we got the Spider-Man announcement. They completely fucked up the name. I wonder if they couldn't get rights to the name. That's the only thing I can think of, because it's literally a layup. Unless this game is not going to play the way that we want it to, and it's just Miles is there as a supporting character. You never control Miles, which would seem like a wasted opportunity.
I doubt it because of the way they showed it. Like they featured them both like pretty strongly.
Prominently, yeah. So why it's Spider-Man 2, I have no idea. But yeah, we get a voiceover from a character. I have listened to that voiceover numerous times, and I cannot figure out which character they're trying to go
It's got to
for
be
there.
Craven. It's got to be Craven.
Ooh, is a good call.
To me, when I was hearing it, I expected to see Craven walk out of that alley. That's what I expected to see happen.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right.
Because he's like, I have searched for all these years to find someone worthy of me. It's like,
In the same way that Craven is probably you're probably right. Craven could be the villain. It would be like Mr. Negative was the villain of the first game, but not really.
yeah.
That's how I kind of hope that goes. Also, looking into the alley, I was like, are they going to do the Venom thing? Are they going to do that? And then when I heard the voice, I was like, yes, Jorah's going to lose his mind when he sees this. And then Venom comes out. That universe, for comic book fans, if you have not really dug into what they're doing with that universe, they're doing a lot of weird stuff. With different characters playing different people playing different characters. Like that Venom, I don't think is Eddie Brock.
Who knows? I have no idea.
The way that the original game left off, the little stinger after the credits would lead you to believe that's Harry Osborn. Very possible it could be. I'm jazzed. I'm jazzed.
Yeah, I'm we talked about this, I think, when we were talking about these movies when we were doing the Panels Pictures thing. Like I just don't get super excited for Venom stuff. Like it just does not jazz me up. It just is like I like Craven is cool, and I like a lot of Spider-Man. I gotta like most Spider-Man villains, and I like Venom. It just is not like an automatic like, holy shit, it's Venom, because it's just like all we do is ever complain about these things about being like, why is he gotta fight a character who's just like an evil version of him? And that is like what Venom is.
You're not wrong. Also, Venom looks awesome.
Venom looks very cool.
We a lot. He has a cool voice.
Venom looks very cool.
He's got that long tongue.
Much like most of the characters created in that era, he looks very cool.
Looks very cool.
And in the comics, they've given him substance over the years, right? He has a lot of substance that he has come into.
In the comics right now, Venom is like an omnipotent being.
Yeah. But he's gone through several identities and stuff. Yeah. But like if this is just like, and even if it's not Eddie Brock, if it's just like, crazed, eat things Venom, it's just not that interesting to me. Again, it's Insomniac's Spider-Man game. I'm super excited to play it. Like, I'm not saying I won't enjoy it, because I'm sure they'll find a way to make the gameplay stuff fun, and they did a great job with the story in both of the other Spider-Man games. So I'm sure they'll do something interesting here. No doubt about that. But like when you look at and again, if it is like Harry and stuff like that, and they add a new wrinkle to it, then I think they can bring out some good story stuff in there. The way they did with Doc Ock and those characters in the first Spider-Man game. And what is the villain's name in Miles Morales?
Tinkerer.
Like they did with that. So like I don't doubt that they can do great things with it. It's just, for me, again, showing something this early where they're just sort of like, let's just give you like a CG thing where we're showing you like, like who's going to be the villain and stuff like that. It's just not the kind of thing that gets me super excited and jazzed, other than the fact that just like, oh, it's just the second Spider-Man game from them, or the third Spider-Man game from them, I guess. That is the only thing I need to really get jazzed. I would say. I just like other Spider-Man villains more than Venom. That's what I'll say. Well, mostly all of them. I would say I'm very Sam Raimi in that way, I guess. And then they finished with what we just assumed, right, that they would wrap up with.
Yeah.
Which is God of War Ragnarok. No, not even a window at the end. Like Spider-Man 2 is coming out in 2023, by the way.
Which is what I thought.
Yes, you were correct, Justin. I was wrong last week. You were correct on when it was going to be coming out.
Write that down, people.
But yeah, we're not even a release year for God of War Ragnarok. That was strange.
They did this with,
because originally the original teaser trailer said 2021. Justin.
Yeah. No, I mean, the pandemic's gotten in the way of a bunch of things.
It's got to be next year, right? It's got to be fall of next year. They probably just don't want to put a date on it because they don't want to have to push it. They don't want to have to delay it.
I still my assumption is it probably gets pushed to like early 2023. Like
Right.
there's no like nobody gives a shit about release date windows anymore. It's better if you come out in February because nobody else is around you then.
Justin, they can't push any
Uh,
more games to 2023. Do you know the list of games that's going to be coming out in 2023 at this point?
Yeah, I know. It's
It's
ridiculous.
insane. Like all of those Xbox games we've been waiting for are all coming out in 2023.
PlayStation doesn't care about that.
I'm just saying for
You might.
us.
Yeah, for us. Well,
For
I mean,
us. It's a lot.
I don't.
To be
it's a
fair,
lot of
all those
games.
Xbox games will be on Game Pass, so we have to
Enough
pay
to pay
for
for
it.
them. Yay.
Anyway,
I thought God of War looked fantastic. Just like I thought it would. I was surprised at how much time had passed in the game, but after thinking about it a little bit, I shouldn't have been because what's the son's name? What's the son's actual name? Not Loki.
Atreus.
Atreus. Like he's aged up a couple of years.
I was gonna say Atreyu,
so
but that's never an excuse.
I was that close to saying it. I was like, don't say Atreyu. Yeah, it looks great. Like I need a refresh on what's going on exactly with the story. Like I remember, so they're talking about Tyr a lot in this thing. It looks like they're looking for Tyr, but then they show them maybe possibly finding him. I was like, but they should have saved that for the game. But I'm sure that if they're already showing it, that's not what's actually going on there. They announced who's playing Thor. I forget the actor's name. I'm excited. God of War was fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So to actually see footage from the sequel makes me believe that it's not super far away because I don't care what they would have said if, at the PlayStation 5 announcement, they just showed a logo.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this game's is not coming out for 4 years. And I would have believed you. So seeing substantial gameplay is good. And, looks like that game is going to kick a whole lot of ass.
Yeah, I mean, I love the 2018 God of War game, right? I love that game, and I was honestly surprised how much of this trailer was gameplay. You know what I mean? Like it was actual. It looked like God of War. It looked like that God of War game, with some new enemy types and some new stuff, going on.
When he threw that axe out and the axe came back and he caught it, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go! I'm ready."
Yeah, we got a little like highlight of that that what is obviously going to be some sort of boss fight with Thor, which obviously we had hinted in that like post credits thing in the last God of War game. I think it looks very cool. I was just sort of like shocked that there was no year at the end of it, not like 2022 2023 or whatever. I was just very surprised that didn't happen.
So it's September now. You figure Sony's going to do another one of these somewhere in May, right around E3, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after, kind of like now.
Who knows? A little bit after. It's like 3 months after at this point.
Yeah. But you figure they'll have to do something. If this game's coming out on a holiday, let's say holiday 2022, right? And that's like, what they just don't want to confirm it. They would have to have something else somewhere to kind of be like, it's a holiday 2022 game. And you're probably right. They just don't want to lock it down yet because they don't want to have to come back later and delay it. But I mean, I don't know why, because anytime a game gets delayed, they're like, good news.
Yeah.
Horizon's release date is now 5 months later than it should have been. But we're giving you the date and you can pre-order now. It's a celebration.
They're giving you a date. So yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I'm very excited for this, 100% excited for it. I just want to know when I get to play it is really all it is about it. This is the kind of trailer I like to see at something like this, which shows you what the game is, gives you like a sense of story and tone. I was very happy to see our what's his name? The guy who's just the head. I can't remember his name.
Mimir.
Yeah. I was A+ seeing him, for sure. So we saw Freya. Was it Freya?
Yes.
So okay.
Yeah.
So
they said the main two antagonists of the game are Freya and Thor.
Okay.
Or Thor, Freya and I think it was Freya and Thor. Freya is definitely one of them. It was either Thor or Odin, but I'm pretty sure it was Thor.
I think Odin is in the game. Richard, like Mello says in the chat, Richard Schiff from The West Wing is playing Odin. I was assuming Freya would be a bad guy in this one, considering what happens in the first game.
Interesting. Melok says in the chat that they're concluding the Norse saga for God of War with this game. When I was kind of feeling this would probably be 2 of 3. That was just a feeling of mine.
Well, it's video games, so you always assume it's going to be 3.
Yeah.
You always assume it's going to be 3 of them.
Interesting. Okay.
I
like how they're concluding Melo, was that an actual quote that they're concluding the Norse saga, which leads me to believe maybe he's going to Egypt next?
He's going somewhere.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Going somewhere. It can't be Roman because they're too close to the Greek gods. It's got to be something else.
Somewhere next.
Somewhere
All right.
next.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think it'd be more interesting if they did like something like. But I guess actually no, they shouldn't do that. I was gonna say something like Far East or something like that, but then you get into a whole lot of bad juju with like, here comes the white dude to come be the god of the the people from the East. You know,
he's gray. Actually,
which is not a good look.
He's covered in ash. He's gray.
He's about as fight Jesus coward. Andy, yes, that should be the name of the podcast.
It really should.
Fight Jesus cowards.
Those are really good. All right, so like overall thoughts. What did you think of this conference?
Some bangers, but overall, I think it was an inconsistent showing.
The last 3 announcements, like of things that we didn't see, save this from being maybe one of the worst ones I've ever seen, I think.
Wow, worst ones you've ever seen. That's strong, Justin.
Because you know what, they came out and they were like, oh, we're not checking expectations. People are like, they're going to announce a ton of really great stuff, and like, yes, they saved it, but I think the way that the conference was laid out was completely broken. They needed to space out these announcements. And on God of War, absolutely had the most gameplay. You announced 2 Marvel games right next to each other for the most part. Space this shit out a little bit more. Yeah. Like right after Forsaken, show Wolverine, or Forspoken, and then like somewhere else drop the Spider-Man trailer. So that way it felt more balanced. It was a little bit up until those announcements were made. It was like, okay, what were they thinking? I know this is going to end with God of War, but this was not a conference that you really should hype up because you're not bringing the goods. Yeah. And they brought the goods, but it was very late in the day.
Yeah. I think that's, again, when I brought up what Herman Hulse said, this emphasis on like, we are going to kind of place our games above the games that our partners and indie developers are doing for our console, by literally separating them out from the rest of the whole presentation. Look, they make very popular games that are generally very good, so I understand like where they're coming from, but I think that philosophy is something that has potential to hurt them in the future, because if you treat the other, you're not gonna have a game come out every week. There's not gonna be a Sony game every week. You know what I mean? So you got to treat the people who are sort of like in your stable of people pretty well. And I feel like by saying like, having your guy come out and be like, all right, now here's the stuff you wanted to see at the end, I feel like it's just like a bad messaging.
I don't disagree
in that sense. I also think that like when we did it, we watched the E3 stuff, and Alejandro pointed out, there's a ton of terrible stuff that happened in E3. All those, like, most of those developer conferences were terrible, but
they were super bad.
But I
was about to make this point too. Go ahead.
But when we watched Microsoft, right, the biggest thing we came away with talking about was not just the games they announced, but in their conference, they kind of painted a picture and told the story of what their console and what their mission was as, a game publisher and a console maker. And I feel like that is what was lacking from this presentation from Sony, which just felt like, I don't know, here are a bunch of trailers for a bunch of things that are either cool that they're being announced and they're new, or a bunch of you've already heard about that's coming out soon, but there was no like cohesion between what was going on. And a lot of it, like we said, was underwhelming what they were showing. And and then it was just like, okay, but here are the games we're making that are coming out in like, you know, who knows when, other than Gran Turismo, right? That we're years and years away.
To Alejandro's point, that you know, asking if I had forgotten about the E3 conferences, it was about setting expectations, where Sony was setting expectations that this was going to be a banger of a conference. And at the end, yeah, I was really excited about some of the stuff that they showed. Like, there was not even a hint of a rumor of a Wolverine game was coming. That's awesome, and I'm really excited about that. But they needed to disperse the information better, just because it looks better, because they come off kind of looking like assholes a little bit, but like, it would be like, okay, yeah, like, this is like, you come away feeling like this was a really good conference. And instead I came away feeling like, oh my God, they saved themselves, because that would have been one of the most disappointing by expectation conferences I've ever watched.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very good point. They did, unlike a lot of other, like, these companies seem to go out of their way a lot of the time being like, guys, like, we're going to show this stuff, and like, you know, but they're never like, get hyped, people, because it's coming. Like, and like, this was at least an unmanaged expectation situation. Like I said, they showed good stuff. They showed stuff that is potentially good. But there's only so excited I can get for, like, you know, essentially what is like a fancy logo reveals, you know, which is like a lot of like what those Insomniac things were. So again, some of the stuff looked nice. I'm excited about KOTOR. I'm excited about Alan Wake, but I don't know if that's, I don't know, you know, I can play that anywhere, so I'm not really like, you know, like focused in on that for that. And like Forspoken looks interesting, and there was stuff, but I think as an overall, because we talk about this a lot too, right? A conference is not just about like the raw list of trailers that they showed at the conference, right? Because if that was the case, you could just release them all on YouTube and just watch them however you wanted to, and it wouldn't matter. These things are structured in a way to like, you know, to have a pace and tell you like a story, and it just doesn't do it, you know, so well there. I don't think. So yeah. So I think it bodes well for, you know, 2023 for Sony. But for the immediate future, I don't know, you know, what. I'm shocked they didn't show like any Horizon, considering the other stuff that they showed. Not that I would have been any more excited to see Horizon, but I'm just saying, like, because we've seen it so many times lately. But like, I was just surprised that we didn't see it. So let's see. Andy says Wolverine has potential to be the new Last Guardian, announcing this early. That's not, the only reason that's not true is because Insomniac doesn't like take like it's pretty known for getting their stuff done on time. So I don't think that'll be an issue. But we shall see what happens. I'm incredibly surprised that we did not see any Final Fantasy stuff here. Like, really surprised.
I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe in a couple months, like I said, around E3 time, they do another one of these, and it's like, oh yeah, like Final Fantasy 16 coming out next year. Like, yeah, who knows? They could drop that, and I'm sure that we'll see the next trailer for, you know, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, and they'll just start doing the thing. And look, to me, and we talked about this when Microsoft had their conference, there is no harm in showing CG trailers that just kicks the can down the road.
No, there isn't.
Because by the time that the next CG trailer comes out, you should be getting more information about the CG trailer you saw last year. So it just keeps momentum for these platforms moving forward, which is fine by me. Like, I have no problems with it. So as far as like wondering like, oh man, we're not going to see these games for a couple of years, I'm sure that by this time next year, we'll have more information on a bunch of those, but also other things will have come to fill in the gaps, and now we'll have things beyond those as well. Right. So we just got to sit back and wait. But the next couple of years are going to be absolutely freaking stacked in a way that we have to go back to the early 2010s or 2007, 2008, like those crazy years that we always look back of, which was the best year. I mean, they have the potential these next couple of years to be really, really special. Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. One story that I thought we were going to be talking about a lot tonight, but Sony reversed course on it very fast, was those announcements of the Horizon like editions coming out. Yeah. So if people don't know, they announced the Horizon like set of SKUs to pre-order, and initially the only way you could like
future-proof your purchase of Horizon was to buy the $80, I think it was the $80 like collector's, I don't remember, the Regalia edition or whatever it was called, which came with the PS4 and PS5 version of the game. Because when they announced them, there was no way to buy the PS4 version and then upgrade to the PS5 version if you wanted to later. There was no upgrade path. There's no like $10 upgrade path at the time. They released this information and the internet went insane on them about it. And I have never seen a company change something that fast before. Like,
You have, and it was this year.
what was it?
Xbox Live increasing Gold's pricing.
I don't even remember.
Literally, they were going to raise it. I forget what it was. So like, they were doing something where they were raising the price of something. I think it was Xbox Live Gold.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet went berserk, and they were like, sometimes that
Oh,
day,
yeah, you're
later
right.
that
Yeah,
night,
you're
they were
right.
like,
Yes.
sometimes we miss the mark.
Yeah, you're right. You're
And
absolutely right.
We appreciate you guys for telling us.
Yes. So Sony announced, okay, no, you can buy. So now you just buy the PS4 version of Horizon and you get the PS5 version for free. Like, but there's still a PS5 version on the store for $70.
You know, I'm not going to argue. At a certain point, like, this seems okay, so we'll just let it lie. It doesn't have to make sense. It just, hopefully people aren't paying too much money.
So Megs, that is what they said. They said, well, we said all launch window titles would have a free upgrade. The first party games had a free upgrade to the PS5 version. This is outside the launch window, but it was supposed to be a launch window, so now we'll do it.
It's not outside the launch window.
I
I can't still walk into a Best Buy and buy a PS5. It is not the launch window.
Yeah.
Like, the launch window has not ended. We
Yeah.
are still in the middle of it.
Yeah. And the real problem was, I don't even think the thing people were upset about was that it would cost anything. It was just that there was no path originally to upgrade from Horizon on PS4 to PS5. There just was none. There was just no way to do it. So that was the thing that was really pissing people off, was that you had to spend $80 now to get PS4 and PS5 version, even if you didn't have a PS5, which is very, very hard to get. I think that, like, and they did also announce that all that the next round of all the cross-gen games. So I guess God of War is cross-gen. I guess they announced that before. I forgot that.
Yeah, that is cross-gen.
And a Gran Turismo and something else they mentioned will have a $10 upgrade from PS4 to PS5. So they announced that at the start. That's going to be like that now, which is good. They have a policy now in place where they didn't, before. It's just, you can tell that they didn't know what they were doing because they now have two versions of Horizon on the store that basically are the same version that cost $10 different.
Jesus Christ, they're so bad at this.
It's very bad at it. I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand how they would think when they did it that people would be like, oh, okay, great, I want to do this.
It's a whole bunch of lawyers and
marketing people.
Making these decisions instead of anybody with any common sense.
Yeah. So
oh God.
So yeah. But that got fixed, and now we have there's the kind of the upgrade path for everybody else. So I don't really have much game to talk about other than what we talked about last week, because I went on vacation for 4 days. Yeah, so I didn't play anything. So I missed a lot of days. So I haven't really gotten to dig into anything since I've been back. Justin, what do you want to talk about?
I got a couple of things that I could talk about briefly. More Hades, of course.
Yes.
Basically, that's the thing that Bobby and I have been playing. But I also, because it was my birthday, I got some Steam gift cards, and I was able to purchase some things on Steam. And I pre-ordered Eastward, which is the game we talked about last week. I'm kind of jazzed about. But I spent some time playing Boomerang X finally. That game is awesome. Just one of those pure feeling type games. There's not even a story, as far as I can tell. I'm like an hour and a half into it, and I'm just throwing this boomerang at things, killing them, and teleporting to it, and it feels good. Like, when you play a game and you're like, oh man, like Destiny. Oh man, the shooting feels so good. Everything about Boomerang X is fast and feels real good. So I'm enjoying that. And I also picked up a game called The Last City.
No,
which
that's not what it's called.
No, the Forgotten City. The Forgotten City. Sorry, the Forgotten City. Thank you for telling me no. I was like, what do you mean no? The Forgotten City, which is a game that I've been hearing a lot about in the last couple of weeks, and it is a pure Bobby game, and I beat him to playing it.
I did buy it though. I haven't played it. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet.
So the premise of this game is before that, this was a Skyrim mod that 3 guys made. Yeah. And then was just like, we're actually kind of good at this. What if we just spun this off into something else? And they made their own game from it. So what the game is about is you are a modern day person and you are washed up on a river shore, and you meet somebody who's just like, I had a friend that went into those ruins back there. Can you go get him? And you go in there and you find a portal and you step through the portal and you are in like ancient Roman times in this city that is like partially underground. And you're transported back, like, let's say 2,000 years. And before you go back, you get to pick like what type of class you want to be. You can be somebody who has knowledge of the ancient worlds. There's a couple of other classes. One of them could be a soldier, and you could take back a gun into these ancient Roman times, and you only have 10 bullets. Now, here's the twist. The twist is when you get back there, you are assigned with figuring out what's going on. Because if anybody in this city full of 23 people, I think it's about 23 people, that's it. If any of them sin, everybody dies. They all get turned to gold. And what will happen is they'll all start turning to gold, and you hightail it back to the portal. You jump out and you jump back in, and the loop starts over again. So it's a time loop game. And there is a mystery to solve, and it's up to you to do it. I did not realize, and this is a PSA for Bobby if he picks this, that when you shoot the bullets, the time loop keeps going. So my 10 bullets are now 4.
Do you think I would pick a soldier?
No, but I thought it was awesome. Like, why wouldn't you in a way though? Like, I'm just going to go back and everyone's going to be like, what are you doing? And I'm going to point a gun at them and they'll be like, well, what's that? And like, I thought that would be an interesting juxtaposition. Like, oh, cool. You got this bow and arrow. Well, check this out. Anyway, it's super good. Like, I thought the writing is all pretty well done, but it plays like you should instantly be able to tell that you're playing like a Bethesda mod, because what happens is you walk up to somebody and then everything kind of like focuses right on that person's face and you have dialogue options. And it's like, oh, this is 100% a Bethesda game, or like a mod for a Bethesda game.
Even the way you told me about the setup sounded like the setup to a mission in Skyrim. Like, like my friend went into those ruins,
Yeah. Go get them. So the game is very topical. It makes a pandemic reference almost right away.
Okay.
And it makes some other topical references that I found to be kind of humorous. But yeah, so I have restarted the loop like 3 or 4 times. I think I've talked to just about everybody, but right now something has happened and I haven't figured out my way past this point. But I think the narrative, or like the story hooks, are enough to make me want to keep seeing what's going on here. And that's why I say it's a Bobby game, because it is just pure, like, it feels like just pure narrative at this point. Like, what's happening? Who's committing this sin? It's weird because you'll see certain things and you'll be like, well, this is going to restart the loop 100%. Okay, it did it. Why? Why isn't this a sin? And then you got to try and suss this out. It's super good, and I'm enjoying it a great deal.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. I guess, Justin. Do you want to talk about that Matrix trailer?
Fuck yes, I do.
By the way, I just want to follow up on a point that was made in one of the previous podcasts, where Justin made this big deal about how bad the Xbox dashboard looks on his TV, and I had to see it to believe it, and I had to come over and see it. And I was over there yesterday, and he was like, I gotta show you this. And he booted it up, and I was like, it looks fine.
It's simple man with simple taste, this Bobby fellow.
And just like, yeah, but really look at this PlayStation 5 dashboard. And he turned the PlayStation 5 and over to it.
It looked better, didn't it?
It looked a little bit better, yeah, but like
No.
nothing like that was like intense. It wasn't like I was like, oh, look at this cloudy garbage that's on my screen right now.
It's just not in 4K, and it shows.
Crazy.
Anyway, for I'll say for a solid year,
Mhm.
I have been telling Bobby, like, I need to see this Matrix footage. I need to know what's going on with this movie. It's like my most anticipated movie because I have no idea what it's going to be.
Mhm.
And you would come back and say that.
I don't remember what I would say to you.
Okay, I do. Bobby would say, like, I'm on, like, he'd say, I'm interested, but I just need to see it. Like, I don't know what, I don't know what's going on. Like, I need to see it. I don't know why they would come back to this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Interested,
it would feel weird.
Yeah.
So we got our first footage of the trailer today. I'm gonna say it looks fucking awesome.
It does look really fucking awesome. Yeah, it does. It looks great. Here's a couple of things that don't make me less excited about the movie, but it make me slightly disappointed. I wish he had like not John Wick hair.
Yes, 100% agree. They need to differentiate between these characters.
Yes.
Sandra's like, is John Wick in the Matrix?
That one, and B, that Lawrence Fishburne isn't in it kind of bums me out. And apparently it's because he got killed in the Matrix Online, which is a canon story.
I found this out today.
Yeah, me too. So those things are disappointing because, like, he's just as much like the Matrix to me as Neo or Trinity. So
I had to click on a comic book resources link because I was like, wondering, like, why is Lawrence Fishburne not in this? And like one of the first hits came up as Lawrence Fishburne isn't in the Matrix Resurrections because of this. And I was like, fine, CBR, I'll click on your stupid link. I've avoided clicking on one of these for years.
Yeah, I think it looks cool. I mean, what I find is fascinating is I think that when the Matrix came out, I saw the Matrix in the movie theater. I had no idea what it was really about, and what like Alejandro was saying. Basically, it doesn't really the trailer doesn't really tell you what this movie is going to be about, right? Other than it's sort of like playing on your already like preconceived notions of what the Matrix is, and was obviously blown away like a lot of people were. And then the Matrix changed action movies to the point where like every action movie that came out wanted to be the Matrix, every movie became some sort of like Matrix knockoff in some way, either stylistically or whatever. And we've circled all the way back around to the place where now none of the movies that get made are like the Matrix, so we're now back to another like world where I think people are very excited for this because it doesn't look or feel like the other action movies that are coming out now, which is exactly the reason why people were excited and loved the original Matrix in the first place. So it's a very interesting full circle we've gone on. And
people in our chat who have never seen the Matrix,
Megs
and I'm just
has never seen
about it.
the Matrix. The scorpion bit, isn't it? That's like the first like 15 minutes of the movie. Megs. I think like my history of the Matrix is I love the first one. I actually have very strong positive feelings about the second Matrix movie.
Wait, did you say positive feelings?
Yeah. I really like Matrix Reloaded quite a bit. And and Revolutions is a hot piece of garbage.
Revolutions is abysmal.
Yeah.
Reloaded just felt like oh man. I don't even know the right words for it. It was disappointing and yet kind of exciting at the same time. I didn't like the direction they were going with, but it was the direction they chose, and for that, it was interesting. It's just a weird movie.
It's a very weird movie.
It's like 3 fight scenes and like kind of like some dialogue in the middle.
I see.
Those ghost characters are really cool, and I like the ideas that they set up. That you could see like, whenever people saw ghosts, it was just like part of the Matrix, like like these characters. I was like, oh well, that's awesome. Who's the Merovingian? I don't know.
I don't know, but the Merovingian scene is great. Like I ate up all that like weird like philosophical shit that they were throwing out. Like I
I
loved that.
know.
I loved the end where he finds like the architects and he tells them the whole like deal or whatever. Like I love scenes like that when they're done well, and I thought it was done well. Plus, it has like that highway chase action scene or whatever is so fucking good. It's so good that highway where like
Yeah.
where he's sword fighting the dude on like the roof of the truck and everything. All that shit is so good. It's such a good like it's such a good action scene. And like they were pushing a lot of filmmaking techniques that weren't quite ready yet at the time, like in Reloaded, like the digital double stuff, of like Neo especially, like it looks even looking at it now and like, oh, this looks like it's a really high quality model, but it obviously is not Keanu Reeves, which now that's like commonplace that they replace like people with digital doubles, right? But you can never even tell.
I remember watching Reloaded and being like, they need to make a Superman movie. Like seeing him fly around, I was like, we're seeing like proof of concept of the next Superman movie, which didn't come out for a couple more years.
Well, I mean, that was like, but that part of the Matrix almost ruined Superman. Like, in that the Superman movies that came out after that were so great, but they wanted him to be like wearing black and like, all that kind of shit.
Do you remember I mean, this is going back a little ways, but the fervor and the excitement around that movie being released, Reloaded.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I can remember seeing the posters, like, and I thought the posters were awesome because it was like almost like a full body shot, but only from like the chin down. And you saw like Neo wearing this like weird robe thing, and I was like, oh wow, this is going to be an amazing thing. Yeah.
Mark, Justin has seen Shang-Chi. I have not. So
I have thoughts about that movie. Mostly good.
So yeah, I'm super excited about it. I think like they showed some action stuff which looks really neat, like that hallway scene where the hallway's kind of spinning and they come to the door, like sort of like, and they fall into the hallway and they're running around it and stuff like that. I think it looks neat and great use. That song was they actually used the real version of a fucking song and it was great.
It's Carrie-Anne Moss, right?
Yep.
She looks fantastic.
She looks great. Yeah.
I was like, oh wow. Like just like Keanu Reeves, time has not bothered you at all.
No, it is not. I feel like they must know these things, but like that shot of Keanu in the tub with the rubber ducky on his head, they must be like, oh, we got the new Keanu meme. Like, they must know this shit, right? Because like it just is like too perfect for it not to be.
The only thing is, you're right. I wish he just looked different than John Wick.
I know, because he even has like the beard.
I'm back. Yeah, I guess if he does, I guess I'm back. I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah, I guess I'm back.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to know what the movie is about. Like not just like the plot details, but like the philosophical like aspect of the movie, because nobody makes action movies the way the Wachowskis make action movies, and even when they're not good, they put a lot of thought and intention and like higher concept stuff into their work that a lot of directors and writers do not.
Jupiter Ascending was them, right?
Yes, Jupiter Ascending is them. Yes.
Yeah, like that was not a good movie, but visually and conceptually, I was like, okay, I'm on board for all this. Like, it's not done well enough, but like you had an idea, you have a visual style, you got the visual style down. The rest of it, not so much, but like A+ for trying.
Yeah. I mean, I have a well-documented love for Speed Racer. I think it's fantastic and visually amazing. Mark said I am not supporting him because I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet. Mark, I'm scared for my health. So why don't you take that in, huh?
So, here's a question for you.
Yes.
What do you feel about this new trend that's going on where we see movie trailers 3 months before the movie comes out?
Well, my answer to that is like, I don't think that is a trend that is happening on purpose.
No, I don't either.
I think it's because of COVID and because these movies are coming in a lot hotter than they normally would. And so the effects that normally would be finished for trailers early are not getting finished and in that time frame. So they're having to push trailers out farther. So, you know, like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, it's fine, but
it's odd because as crazy as I've been, like, oh my God, I want to see this footage. Now that I've finally seen it, I'm like, shit, this movie comes out in like 3 months. It comes out December 22nd. And like, same thing with Spider-Man. Like, oh man, we waited so long to see that Spider-Man footage, and now we've seen it, and it's like, that's like less than 3 months.
yeah.
So it's in a way, it feels good to be like, okay, cool. I see that movie a couple months from now, not 8 months from now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, my thought on like the whole like trailer cycle at this point is, I still love watching trailers, and for movies that I'm excited about, I'm always going to watch them. I just like, if making them closer to the release of the movie means we get less amount of trailers for a single thing, I'm happy with that, because I feel like they put out too many trailers and stuff for movies a lot of the time.
Do you think we get another? Do you think for both of these movies, we
100%,
get another trailer?
100%. Maybe not The Matrix. It's possible not The Matrix, but you'll definitely get another trailer for Spider-Man. There's no way there's not another trailer in late October, early November for it.
There's a subreddit. No, but we're getting into quick side note territory. There's a subreddit here called Marvel Studio Spoilers, and if you click on that subreddit, there's a lot of things that you'll see about this Spider-Man movie, like high detailed photos of things. It was just like, all right. I'm very much excited about this movie.
Yes, Andy says we discussed this as part of our COD Alpha time. So Andy and I deemed to play the COD Alpha a couple weeks ago. We played it for like 2 matches, and then for the preceding hour and a half, just talked about movies and life without playing anything, just in a party chat.
Those are the good ones.
Those are the good ones. Mark, I will be happily hold you while we watch Dear Evan Hansen in the movie theater, but my feeling is there'll be a lot less people in the movie theater for Dear Evan Hansen than there would be for Shang-Chi.
Two grown men, just the only 2 men in the theater, just holding each other, crying. I mean, I never knew anything about Dear Evan Hansen except other than that Mark loves it.
Yeah.
And so when I saw Shang-Chi, I saw the trailer and I was like, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with the both of them? Why on earth would you ever subject yourself to watching this?
2 friends on a perfect day. That's right, Mark. True friends on a perfect day. I've watched that trailer probably, I don't know, 10 times at least. And every time I watch it, I cry.
I'm not dead inside. I have feelings, and my feelings are in a position where they just can't be hurt like that. So I'm not going to subject myself to it.
I watch that trailer and I just cry every single time. So I'm very excited to watch the movie and also bawl like a small child when I watch it. Matrix, I don't leave the house for. I can just watch that on HBO Max. But I would like to see that. That'd be nice to see the movie theater, because that seems like a good movie theater movie. But they did not say that they're putting, that new Halloween movie's coming out, I believe, in October, Halloween Kills. And they announced that it's releasing simultaneously now in theaters and on Peacock. So, over to that.
Like, I get like people being like, oh, exclusively on Disney Plus, exclusively on HBO Max. Yo, check it out. We're exclusively on Peacock.
It's just funny for a movie like Halloween Kills, because Peacock is like, NBC's like, hey, you want to come for the funnies? Like, that's what it is. It's like it's for the most part. So,
oh man.
So yeah. Yeah. So I got a lot of games to start hitting up more.
Same.
I got to play some more Psychonauts because I'm really, really enjoying it.
I have to start that.
And now we've got, Life is Strange True Colors. I'm sorry, Megs. I know. Okay. I was saying it as you were typing it, apparently. Life is Strange True Colors.
She mentioned it like 30 minutes ago.
Today.
She in capital letters.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I missed it. Life is Strange True Colors came out today as we're recording this. So doesn't need to play this. Justin and I were discussing the other day games that we could possibly buy physically to split the cost of. So I think True Colors might be one of those games because it's coming out. It's out physically, so I might get that and Metroid, and maybe what are the one we talked about?
Dying Light
2. That's the other one we talked about. I'm getting that, and splitting the cost of those so that we can save a little money during this gaming season. What a season! What a season!
It's never been a better time.
Never been a better time to play video games. So yeah, so next week we should have some more stuff to talk about. I'm really gonna try my best to pry myself away from playing Hades and play other things.
I know that we have a couple of Hades aficionados in the chat.
We do.
I am playing Hades on Mark. I know you're here on high heat, extreme measures, level 4. I didn't know that Hades had 3 health bars. I can't beat him yet. But then again, I have none of the hidden aspects unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
I got him close. Now, the second time I saw it, I got him real close. Like it was a battle of next person that gets hit dies. I died. Mm-hmm. I really want to get him.
I have now gotten to the surface with all the hidden aspects of all the weapons. The only one I didn't clear with was the gun because I had that heat thing on, that pack to punishment thing on, where you have the time limit.
Yeah.
And it took me, and I got screwed in sticks because I didn't
Was
find
it in the third room.
I didn't find it.
The second one.
I didn't find it till the last room. Like the sack. Yeah.
They're never in the boss rooms.
Yes, they are.
I've never seen the sack in a boss room.
They're definitely in the boss. They're definitely in the boss rooms. 100% they're in the boss rooms. 100%, Justin.
I've never entered a room with a skull and found a sack.
It
sounds like a good sentence, but never.
They definitely could be in the boss rooms. But I got to the Hades with the hidden aspect of the gun, which is cool. It's a cool thing. It's not my favorite hidden aspect, but it is fun. But Mark last week was absolutely right. The aspect of Arthur, which is the hidden aspect of the sword, is like broken as fuck. It's so broken because it ups your health pool. Your special puts out an aura that mitigates your damage inside the aura, but also slows down the enemies inside the aura. So literally, like Hades would be shooting out, those like skulls that give you the boiling blood.
Yeah.
And I could see it like moving like this out of his staff.
I got to get that done.
It's very, very good. Me and Meg smooched it up. Not Meg's in chat, Megara.
I was about to say, damn. We're letting everything out. All right.
So that was good. I finished off that bond. And by the way, I didn't even know when you finished off bonds, you got like new like special trinkets from them.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So
Shit, man, there's still so much about this game I don't know, and I've had like 1,000 hours in it.
I finished off the bond with Megs. Only you don't have to get all the way to the end, but when you get that like 5th one or whatever, and you first time you can give them like the ambrosia or whatever, you finish off that like thing, and you get like this special item that you equip in addition to whatever keepsake you're using. And Meg's one, she gives you this thing where you can basically, like the power she uses where like she spins and then like those circles appear on the ground and like the things fall from the sky. You can do that.
Okay.
you only have like one you start out with and you can level it up, but it's good.
Love that game.
Yeah. I even did the thing with the sword where where it cuts my life pool by 60%, but I get 2 points of health back every time I hit something. And I just fucking I up my attack speed so much that like I couldn't be killed. I hit them so many times that they could not hit me hard enough to take my life pool away. It was good. It was good. Yeah, I gotta pull myself away.
One more thing I'll just mention.
Yes.
Within about a minute, because we got to get out of here. Golf Club Wasteland is something else I started, and I put like maybe like a half hour, 45 minutes too. Mm-hmm. Basic story: it's a 2D golf game that Earth is decimated. The ultra rich live on Mars, and they use Earth as a golf course. Mm-hmm. And it's like one of those like crazy ones where like like you're hitting a golf ball and it's got to like bounce off 4 things and like roll into something. But it's it's a very chill game because they have these like weird vibe songs coming from Mars talking to rich people, and then like I felt like at one point I was listening to like NPR from Mars. It was like this like 5-minute soliloquy about like, this person that grew up and then got rich and stuff like that. And I was like, shit, what am I listening? Like, it was one of those things like, what am I listening to? It's neat. It's like $10. But if you're looking for like very chill vibes and you happen to like have a thing about golf games, like I kind of do, it's cool.
Yeah. Neat. We got the other day, those Life is Strange reviews dropped, and those Tales of Arise reviews dropped. And they were both super high.
Bobby sent me Tales of Arise review scores, and I was like, who the fuck are you? Why are you sending me this? I'm not, no.
I was just like, they're really high. I don't usually see review scores this high. So I was like, maybe we should take a look at it. There's a demo on the PlayStation, so I might take a look at it.
My backlog can't get any bigger.
No, it's true. I know, but it's going to keep getting bigger. Because Deathloop is out in a couple of days, and then so on and so forth. So we're going to have to go address this backlog. But until then, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bobby.
And thank you to everybody who's been watching or listening. Until next time, be good to one another. Later.